Hi everyone. Today was a bit of a nothing burger. Ultimately, we ended up starting to roll to the downside, which was a risk we talked about yesterday. Threw a wick to the highs, immediately rejected down 2 hours there. Tested the 144, big candle down at the end of the session. Big volume on that push, which also was not great. But of course, we did get the Nvidia earnings, which was strong. Nvidia's up a lot after hours. But the RSI and the momentum still say this might be a lower high setup here. So structurally, we're still chopping, but let's take a quick look at all of the charts and see if we can find something for tomorrow. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So in news today, we got Nvidia crushing earnings up 73%. The expectation was 66%. The overall quarter was 69%. So altogether good numbers, up about 4.5%. Jensen Huang absolutely delivering massive on this earnings, and Nvidia is going higher, and that is carrying markets higher in the after hours like we already saw. So good numbers there. Earnings per share 96 cents. Revenues beating. Everything looks good. So they continue to deliver. I did not expect them to miss, but I didn't really expect it to be this much of a driver to the upside, especially with all of the required licenses here for China, chip restrictions around the world, the $5.5 billion in markdowns they said they were potentially going to take, and that the China market for AI chips is effectively closed to US industry. So a lot of headwinds, surprising that they were able to deliver such good numbers, and they are extending that move to the upside in the after hours. Moving over to fear and greed, flat again at a 65. You can see momentum did move down slightly, but that'll be back tomorrow, hopefully as long as that after hours holds, and then you can see strength. Flat, breadth continuing to go lower here, a little bit concerning there. We've been watching breadth. Put call ratio flattening out, still in regular fear. Volatility pulling back, still higher low setup there. And then safe haven and junk bonds, no movement, still extreme greed on both of those. Overall, we're kind of getting some mixed signals here. I think we could absolutely go either way, but I am concerned about that lower high setup on markets. Moving over to the economic calendar, 5-year note auction came in just a little bit higher than the previous number. Nothing really crazy there. Fed minutes didn't move markets at all. Didn't hear any news out of that. And then for tomorrow, you got GDP numbers in the morning. That's going to be interesting. If this Q1 GDP comes in this low at minus 0.3, I think this is going to affect markets more than is being priced in right now. So this is something to watch for. Previous number, 2.4. Current forecast, minus 0.3, huge down move there. Pending home sales, fairly interesting. Crude inventories, fairly interesting. Really initial jobless claims. This has been flat for a long time, no movement there so far. And then PCE data to round out the week, as well as Chicago PMI, not expected to be a great number there either. Moving over to the charts here, starting off with the S&Ps on the daily chart. This was the concern, right? We came to the level 591.09. We did reject from that level, did pull back a little bit, closed below it, and then in the after hours, of course, we're getting a push right back to that level. The momentum stepped back to bearish RSI. This was the fear. Breakdown, retest, breakdown. If this follows through, that's going to be a major move for markets. We have not seen a follow through on it yet. Can Nvidia hold up the markets tomorrow? Right now it seems like they can. You can see we came into this 200 area, almost hit the level 585. Really need to see this push back above 591 on a closing basis, and then look for the push above that next level. Otherwise, we're kind of in this consolidation right now. No clean movement in either direction. The momentum seems to be bottomed out here in the short term, but that daily chart flipping from bullish conditions yesterday back to bearish on the momentum, breaking down from that SMA test. Not what you would want to see if you're trading this to the bull side. Moving over to the SPY charts, you can see we came back right to that trailing stop, 587.30, touched that level, and then bounced into the end of the session. We're now in the middle of the range here, waiting to see if we hold that retest and break back to that upper band. Right now, the upper band is still in that 594.79 area. That is a huge level of resistance right at that previous high, and we've been talking about that for a while here because you can see it here on the weekly chart, the trailing stop there, 594.85. So pretty much everything says that is a big zone of resistance. So far, we have not gotten above it. If we can close above it on the back of Nvidia, that would be a major shift for markets, but for now, this is still a high, lower high setup. Moving over to the NASDAQ here, very similar thesis, but the level is that 523.24 level. We did touch it here today. The high was 523.68, so we overthrew that high level. But again, the RSI is the concern here. super extended to the upside, breakdown, retest, breakdown. If this comes to fruition, that is going to be terrible. And we've seen moves like this before. Something like this here where you have a huge extension, breakdown, retest, breakdown, big move down after that. Similar to this here, breakdown, didn't even quite retest, big continuation lower. This SMA can be a powerful resistance, and this rejection off of it today is definitely concerning, something I'm watching closely here. And then looking at the hourly chart, obviously this looks just fine. Consolidation here. We stayed pretty much in the trading range right up until that last candle, and then immediately reversed it to the upside, pushing towards that level. If we can get above this tomorrow, then we're looking for that next level, which is your all-time high. 538.28 is that next level. So momentum bullish, RSI holding right at the SMA, but that daily chart still concerning to me. Moving over to those tasty charts here on the weekly for the Qs, you can see we're right at that same level. The trailing stop 517.76. The closing price was 518.91. Obviously after hours we are above that. And then flipping to that hourly chart, you can see 523.10 is the current price, pushing above that first ATR band. If we do get the push to the upper band here, that would be 526.14. Can we continue to push through there? Maybe, maybe not. The volume did come on the sell, which is a little concerning. Otherwise, still bullish conditions. Came to the trailing stop, 518.35 was the trailing stop, still bullish conditions here. And this does look quite a bit better here still on the hourly chart. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, the Russell had a down move of about 1%, basically encompassing that candle from the Tuesday session. So that is not what you want to see. This is more in line with what I expected to see here today. Again, not getting propped up by Nvidia. This is more indicative of the markets with that high, lower high setup here. Momentum back to bearish, RSI rejecting off of the SMA, continuing lower here. So this looks not so good. This looks more like a topping pattern and continues to do so, similar to the Dow here. Also not being affected nearly as much by that Nvidia move. Momentum stepping back to bearish here, and then same thing on the SMA. Breakdown, retest, breakdown, not looking good. Consolidation top pattern. This seems like we're going to see at least somewhat of a pullback. Moving over to Mag 7, even with the Nvidia move here, we're not above that 315 level. That continues to be resistance. You can see this consolidation between that kind of 315 and 330 area, consolidated here for a long time. We're now retesting this kind of lower high setup. Still can't get above 315. Almost tested it here today, didn't quite do it. Momentum still stepping to bearish, RSI. Pretty much the same thesis as everything else below the SMA. So continuing to watch this here, and it does look a little bit bearish, depending on how much Nvidia can hold up markets tomorrow. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple had an okay day, basically flat, up just 20 cents here, but still expecting this to be a consolidation range. Through a wick to the zone. Can it continue through here? Maybe. Right now I would expect 204.70 to be a zone of resistance. This consolidation of EMAs between there and the 207 level. Momentum, basically nothing. RSI still slightly bearish, so not loving that. And then looking at Microsoft, this seems to be topping a little bit here. Down 0.72%. Momentum still bearish. RSI still in a topping pattern. Hasn't broken any levels yet. So structurally, this is still bullish. The Nvidia move getting a little bit of sympathy from Microsoft to the up move, basically encompassing the entire move from today. So really no change to structure, just concerned about this RSI read. And then looking at Tesla and Nvidia, Tesla was down 1.65%, rejecting off of this consolidation of trend lines here. Momentum, okay. RSI right at the SMA. Still trending higher, but starting to struggle in this area. Is this going to be a kind of wide-ranging consolidation pattern? Probably. Can it push through here? Absolutely. Still watching it. If we close above 369.30 here on Tesla, that would take you back to these highs. Not super convinced that's going to happen, at least for now, but it's not impossible. And then looking at Nvidia, of course, pushing back to that 140.76 level. That is the next level to the upside. That was the current price target off of the 130.35. So this was your support. That is your resistance. That is the high from back here, 19 February, which was the high for the broader markets. Nvidia obviously topping sooner than that. And then you can see this kind of key high there around the 149.65 level. Momentum continues to fade. RSI continues to fade, but can this prop it up? I would say absolutely. We saw what happened to Microsoft on good earnings. Realistically, this could go right back to that 150 level. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, these are not the place to be. It seems like the regular market is continuing to top out. Tech in good shape, not selling really at all, but staples rejecting once again off of that 81.85 level, down about 0.75%. Momentum stepping back to bearish, same as discretionaries, down about 1%, right to that 215 level, closed below it. After hours getting just a smidgen of a pop here, but momentum, bearish, RSI, really the same setup as everything else, breakdown, retest, breakdown. So not super great, looks like a topping pattern. Moving over to real estate and gold, it's been a little bit since we talked about these here. Real estate did dip down into the 40 area, very close to the level 40.07, but realistically this is still expensive. Anything below 40 is a buy for me. Anything above 42, not so much. Between 40 and 42 is kind of this hold. Really don't love it here, but don't want to sell it either. Anything below 40, buy it pretty much as fast as you can with both hands. And then looking at gold here, still watching this as kind of a bull flag setup. Still in this range, came down, tested the low, rallied up, overthrew it briefly, still at this resistance area. Probably going to pull back to here around 293. If it holds in here, then we could look for that acceleration up. That would be a higher low setup off of this previous low. That would also be a higher low setup off of this bull flag, which would give you a potential for an uptrade there. So just think about it. Gold, watching this if we come back down to this 293 area. Moving over to breadth, we talked about this yesterday, still very concerned about this chart. So we had the huge up move Tuesday on the EU news, could not get to that previous high, rejecting off of that level 68.14, and then that 90 MA momentum bearish, RSI back to bearish here, same thing on the 50-day average here, still watching this zone very, very closely, rejecting off that 68.66 level, closed above it yesterday, closed back below it here today. So that is a test for me. Do we close below 62? Do we close below that 21 EMA? That's very concerning. Structurally though, this seems to be showing a fade. Moving over to the dollar, dollar liked today, got a nice move above that 99.83 level. We're still above it here. Haven't quite closed that daily, got one more minute there, waiting to see if it pushes through there. Momentum slightly bullish. I do like this setup. You could argue low, higher low here. Would have liked to see this trend hold, continuation from there, but of course we had to break through there. Maybe this is a higher low setup, something to consider. SMA, same setup as everything else, breakdown, retest. Do we get the rejection? We don't know yet. Do we push through there? If we do, that would be a pretty bullish setup. It's also very different here because you're not so extended on that SMA. We're still below the 50 line. This could go either way. Regardless, still looks like a base to me. Still want to see that dollar push up a little bit. Moving over to the VIX, you can see the VIX was slightly positive, up 1.85%. We'll see if that holds tomorrow. Momentum stepping back to bullish, RSI still above the SMA. Again, breakout. Retest, continuation higher here potentially. Really the same setup as we thought. We just got a bit of a shake out there on the Tuesday. Is this going to continue higher? I still believe that it will, and I still believe this is probably going to go into that 28, 29, maybe as high as 32, somewhere in this area here. Moving over to my accounts, this is a little bit of a fake gain here. You can see in the after hours, we're getting a bunch of upward movement. These calls would be probably negative at this point with how aggressive this has been after hours, but either way, still going to be in a nice bullish trade here. Still very much bullish on the deltas for the Qs. And then looking at that break even, we're still sitting at 535.50. So plenty of room to the upside. Could go another $10 and still not be at my max profit. Again, sitting on this for a while here. Doesn't mean I'm going to hold it all the way to expiration. Probably not, but it seems like in the short term, we're getting a nice little push up on that Nvidia news. Does everything else in the market start to drag this down? I think that's probably realistic for the SPY and the Russell, but the NASDAQ can absolutely go higher on Hopium and the tech trade, which continues to be quite strong. So that's what I'm trading right now, bullish on the NASDAQ. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of the charts today. What do you think of Nvidia earnings? Can they just continue to rally through to that 150 level? Will it continue to be very strong from here? And can it really hold up markets while everything else seems to be fading? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.